Hello, my name is Kate Russell. I'm a technology broadcaster, reporter and author. I'm sorry I can't be with you today. I'm currently actually hosting an education conference in Disneyland Paris, of all places, so I know it's tough work, but somebody has to do it. So instead I thought I would record a quick message for you outlining my thoughts on the topic of engaging and retaining an audience in a digital world, and how we can use the interactive tools that the internet now gives us to create that bond which makes a lasting relationship with your readers. What you can see behind me is actually the game of Elite Dangerous. I'm sitting in my cockpit. There's actually a war going on here at the moment, that's why there's a lot of people shooting at each other. Most of them are actually non-player characters here at the moment, but when I'm streaming, and this is my streaming setup that I use to broadcast playing the game each weekend to my fans, when I'm streaming, often there'll be 20 or 30 real people out here flying with me, sometimes shooting at me, and we play silly games and do all sorts of things to keep them engaged and entertained at the weekend. Now, this game is actually very special in terms of my story, because my book, my first novel, sci-fi novel, is called Elite Mostly Harmless, and is based in the game world. And so the community that coalesces around my stream are really engaged not only with the game and the gameplay, but they're also very engaged with the story in my book. Now, I was very lucky that I was able to purchase a license for the to base my story in the game world from Frontier, the publishers of the book. A couple of years ago they ran a Kickstarter crowdfunding campaign to fund the making of this new version of the game, and this game actually is the granddaddy or the grandson or granddaughter of the original game Elite, which came out in 1984. Now, Elite was the game that really kick-started the kind of home PC sandbox genre of gaming, and this is what you would see now. This is a sandbox game, so you can play missions, you can do the storyline that the game feeds you, but you can also just do whatever you like within the game. Grand Theft Auto would be another modern title that people would know that fits into that genre. So Elite took the world of gaming by storming back in 1984, and many people like me were teenagers at the time, and it really ignited their interest in computers and in gaming. And so when Frontier Developments, the producers of the game, when they ran a Kickstarter about 3 years ago to fund the production of this 21st century imagination of the game, a lot of people put a lot of money in, and one of the crowdfunding targets that they had, or pledge amounts that they had, was for £4,500 you could buy a license to write a piece of fiction based in the game world, an official piece of fiction. So now, I was already a television presenter and had a reasonable kind of like backing in terms of Twitter. I had about 30,000 Twitter followers back then, and they all encouraged me because they knew that I loved writing, and I've always written short stories but was never published as a fiction writer. They encouraged me to go for it, and so I ran my own Kickstarter to fund the purchase of that £4,500 license. My followers were incredibly generous, and in the end I managed to secure £17,000 to buy the license for the book, and then the stretch goals. So the way that crowdfunding works is you do stretch goals, for if you've reached your initial target, which was 4,242. Douglas Adams reference there. That was my original goal, to pay for the license for £4,500, and then the next goal was to create a piece of create artwork and have it typeset for a nice kind of like ebook, and then the next stretch goal beyond that was to have the same done for a paper version of the book. And then beyond that, when we hit those stretch goals, I went even further and said that I would record an audio book, a fully produced audio book with sound effects and music beds and stuff like that from the game. So with these kind of like steps of achievement. I was able to very easily attain that sort of initial amount, get my backing on side, and then move to the next level and the next level and the next level, and you keep pushing it until you sort of hit that ceiling of how much and how many people are prepared to invest. So I had 811 people invest in my proposition, and it was at the time just a proposition, it was just a storyline. I had 811 people, they were already committed to see me succeed. And over the course of the next year of writing my book, not only did I have that cash in there to pay for the essentials of the initial production run, but more importantly, I had an engaged community who, through sending updates through my through the Kickstarter tools, I was able to communicate with them regularly to tell them how I was getting on, tease them with little bits of information about the characters that I was developing, and just give them sort of cryptic clues about what they might find in the book and stuff like that. So that was one really important element. And then the other thing that people don't realise, I think, with crowdfunding campaigns, your subscriber list, the people who've supported you, that remains live beyond the end of your Kickstarter and beyond the delivery of your Kickstarter. So now, as I'm writing my second book, which is hopefully going to be finished by early summer and due out late this year, I can now have a direct line to that 811 people who already supported me to such an extent that they were prepared to pay for the book in various different iterations before I had even written it. So I can now send them information about my new book when that comes out, and hopefully will pick up a large number of them as an audience. The other great thing with the Kickstarter process is a lot of people only pledged at the lower £5 tier mark. So basically the lowest, well, there was the lowest tier. Always when you're doing a Kickstarter, have an entry level for nothing other than a warm fuzzy feeling. So for £1 you don't get anything, but you'll be included on the update list and you get a warm fuzzy feeling. That way, those people will get your updates all the way through the process, and so as it nears the end of the process and the Kickstarter closes, or even beyond that, when you've then delivered the product, finished making it and delivered it, they'll get the updates, and they could very well be tempted to go up a level and decide to put more money in and purchase the product or purchase the book after the Kickstarter is closed. So that's really important. Then you've got the lower tier level, which was £5. That was entry level, and that was just for an ebook. And a lot of those people ended up going on to having had the ebook, there's some fighting going on behind me at the moment, a lot of those people ended up having to wanting to buy the paperback book and the audio book, so they also were upsold through the process after the Kickstarter had closed. And then you go up the tier levels. At £15 people would get a paperback, for £25 they'd get the audio book, and so that's how kind of like you build the tier levels. Excuse me. There was a war raging behind me. So that's how you go on and build the tier levels. And what happens after that is the higher level tiers, there were specific rewards which allowed them to be part of, or allowed a small number of people to be part of the production process. So I had 15 people who paid £101 each to be part of a private Google Plus group, where I would discuss elements of the plot and get their feedback and input on elements of the plot. So they would get spoilers, of course, but they would help me. It was almost like having a focus group for the book as I went along writing it. And then right at the top end of the tier, I actually had 3 people who paid £200 each to be able to name a character in the book whom I promised that I would murder in a despicable and humiliating way. And those, actually, I undersold those. I underestimated what people would be prepared to pay. I put those in at £200 and they went instantly. So you know, I probably could have pitched those quite a bit higher. So aside from the financial aspect of doing the crowdfunding, the really important thing for me was it started to build a community around my work, and a community that had invited me into their email inbox by way of signing up for this crowdfunding project, and so they're essentially opening their inbox to further updates to you. So that's really valuable. Beyond that, where does the game fit in? So one of the really unusual things about this book is it is based in the game world. I'll show you it now. Lead Mostly Harmless. So it is based in the game world. You can see there's a planet there. And I was able to name a planet and a space station in the game itself, because this is a massively multiplayer online game. So when the game came out, people could actually go within the game, could go and visit my planet, which was called Slough, and my space station called Slough Orbital, in the star system that I named, which was Vespa M4. Westbound M4, so it's Slough on the westbound M4. I know it's very cheesy, but I'm a big believer that if you have the opportunity to put something very silly into something sensible, then you have a duty to mankind to do that. So that was one of my reasons for choosing the name Slough and Slough Orbital. And then when the game came out, I decided to stream it. And the first thing I did was and this is, so streaming is where you basically, I've got a green screen behind me. See here, I'll lift that up. That's there's my cat underneath my chair there. So this is a green screen here, and you're seeing the game footage, and Twitch is a massive, or all game streaming, it's not just Twitch, but streaming games is really a massive thing at the moment. People will sit and watch you for hours and hours and hours, and not just watch you but engage and chat, because when they're watching you gaming, you're also talking to them on a camera. I would normally shrink this down, and it would be sort of like about there in the corner of the screen. So I'll be playing the game, you know, sort of down there, and they'll see all of this space, and they'll come and join me in the game as well if they want to, and we play silly games. So it's a very participatory form of entertainment, and it really resonates with, I think, the new generation of entertainment consumers, because they want to feel part of the broadcast. They don't want to just sit and passively watch something and be told stuff. They want to contribute to that experience, and you know, my viewers are incredibly funny as well. They're really, you know, they chat to each other, they chat to me, they're very knowledgeable, they're very polite, you know, everybody's really supportive. Occasionally you get trolls coming in, and then, you know, meh, everybody sort of ignores them, and your mods just kind of block them straight away. But it's really a very interesting process, and everybody's very much you know, a part of that process. And so I've now got an audience of about 250 people on average. I have 5,000 people following me on the channel. I have 250 people who watch me regularly. I've got almost 100 people who subscribe $5 a month through the Twitch. I'm a partnered Twitcher now, so they subscribe $5 a month to watch me, and also they do donations as well. You know, I think I've been donated something like, people will just suddenly throw a donation of £10 at you for no apparent reason. So I think over the 6 months I've been doing this professionally, I've probably been donated something like £300 as well. So it helps to pay for equipment, it helps to pay for software to stream and stuff like that. But the key thing is, through this interaction, well, I've broken the fourth wall there. Through this interaction and through my engaging with them, they are all incredibly supportive of my work, and my first book continues to sell really well as a direct result, I believe, because of this. I do charity streams, so we raise money for charities, and during those I play snippets of my audiobook and give away copies of my ebook and my paperback book, and again that in its turn generates more sales and generates more interest in the book. And when my next book comes out, of course, the first thing I'll do is read some of it to people on here, and play them the audiobook sample and stuff like that. And hopefully that will again encourage more people to keep buying my products. I've been a freelance writer for 20 years now, and I've done well over 20 years, and I think probably one of the key reasons why I've done so well is because of social media and the ability to engage with a community. So what do you need to do to fully engage with the community? Well, first of all, you need to be regular. You need to be there consistently. It's no good coming on just when you've got something to promote and expecting everybody to be interested in what you have to say. You've got to be a constant part of the background for them, in order for them to continue to be interested in what you have to say. You also have to be genuine. There's no point, I hate football games. There'd be no point in me playing football games, trying to engage with the football game community, because it would be obvious that I don't really like them and I'm not really any good at them. So, if you come across as disingenuous and false, then, people will sniff it out really, really quickly, and they won't give you the time of day. And the other thing, I think you need to be generous of time and spirit. It's not just about you. You are building an audience and you are building a community around you, but I think community is the key here. It's not actually an audience. I don't think we build audiences anymore, because audiences in the traditional sense is a passive experience. You sit in the auditorium, or you sit behind the television, or you sit in front of a book, and you consume that in a linear way that the author or creator has expected you to consume it. With a community, they want to feel like they're participating. They want to feel involved with what you're doing, and that they've had some contribution to it, even if it's only in a very small part. You do need to manage your community. It's really important that you manage your community well, and for me, one of the key things in managing the community is making sure that it is an inclusive and welcoming place for everybody. And to do that, because obviously when I'm streaming, when I'm engaging with people through Twitter and through social media, sort of around and outside of the streams, then I can manage that myself. But when I'm streaming, I'm busy chatting, I'm busy playing, I'm busy entertaining. And so I have a core of very good mods who, I don't pay them, I give them props and I give them credit. And, you'll find when the community coalesces around you, actually a lot of them want to participate and they will want to do jobs. For example, there's a guy who makes these animation bugs. For us, so whenever I'm doing something new, he'll say, "Oh, I've made you an animated bug for that," and I don't ask him to do it, but he does it. That was the wrong thing to turn off. So, and my mods are the same. The moderators on my channel, they're there for me all the time. They're keeping an eye on things. They're making sure people are friendly and nice in the channel. And anyone who isn't friendly and nice, they work by my guidelines, take them away privately, tell them to behave, or they'll be blocked and barred. And if they continue, then they're blocked and barred. So, it is really important, because if you let trolls into your community, that is toxic. And the people who genuinely are your fans and your followers, anybody who comes in and tries to disrupt the community, they're not your fan or your follower, and they will make your true fans and your true followers, they will make them leave. So it's really important that you maintain that great relationship, and you keep it moderated, and you keep on top of the trolls, and don't let that toxicity bleed into your community. So I would say the top tip for building a community is find something you love that has people around it. If it's a genre of book that you're writing, you don't have to do these interactively. You can go to forums where people like to write. If romance is your thing, for example, go to a forum where people like to write their own romance short stories or novels. Comment on them, give them feedback, give them something before you kind of march straight in there going, well, I'm a published writer and I've got stuff you might want to buy. Make that connection first. Make those human connections first. Show them that you are like them and you are genuinely interested in the subject, and they will join in with you and be interested in what you have to say. But you can't just march in somewhere and say, be interested in me. You kind of have to say, hey, I'm interested in you, and oh, by the way, maybe you'll be interested in me. So I think that's really key. If you can find an interactive way like Twitch, or if you can do maybe a YouTube channel, you know, you can, even if it's something like, oh, I don't know, cookery, or you know, just unboxing things or talking about your kids or whatever. If there's some way that you can find to interact in a live kind of broadcast streaming environment with your people who are of like mind, then I think that is really, really important as well. But I think the biggest tip I would say for any writer who wants to build a community is just bear in mind that they're real people, and if you speak to them like humans and you be natural and you be yourself, if they like you and they like your style, then they're the perfect people to be your readers. Don't try and force yourself into a community. Don't try and be something that you're not, to shoehorn yourself into a community, because at the end of the day, that's not going to transpire in people being interested in your work, because your work, you know, as we all know, us writers, we write from the heart, we write from the soul. And so if you're not expressing your heart and your soul through the community that you build, then you can't really expect them to be honestly interested in the work that you have to offer them and that you're hoping that they will buy. I've probably rambled on for enough already, right? So I hope you enjoy the conference. I'm truly sorry that I can't be there with you. It sounds like it's going to be very inspiring. If you've got any questions, my Twitter is @KateRussell. Feel free to fling me a question or whatever, and I'm more than happy to answer. I also blog about this a lot on my award-winning blog, which is katerussell.co.uk, so you can go along there, and there's often there's lots of how-tos and stuff in there of various different things, and a lot of the things that I've covered today I've actually covered quite fully in my blog. So enjoy the day. I am streaming in 45 minutes, and it looks like I've got a war to fight, so I'm gonna have to leave you there. Commanders, good luck. I'll see you on the other side.